Hey, I realized about 3 to 4 albums through this video that one of the albums I had on the list was not released in the 90s and was actually released in 2000s. It was the remix version of Rave Unto the Light, the Joy Fan. I can never remember what that name is. Rave Unto the Joy Fantastic. For some reason, I just assumed Rave Into the Joy Fantastic, the remix version of that album, came out also in the 90s. It came out 2 years later. So up until the point that's on the list, my numbering system is wrong. So deduct one until I go, oh, wait, I messed up. Then you'll realize. I'm not going to go back and redo them. I can make this explanation instead. However, once I get to the Rave Unto, from there on out, the numbers are correct and the final list will be correct. But sorry for the confusion. But I'm going to consider that remix album when I do the 2000s because I really, really like that remix album. So, giving away, spoiler alert, on to the video. What's up, people? I'm Shaggy, the Opinionated Hippie, and this is part 3 of my reviewing and ranking Prince's studio albums according to my personal tastes. This is the 1990s. I'm going to do everything he released in the 90s, so I'm including the Black album here, even though it was released in the 80s. It was officially released in the 90s. I'm including The Truth, which was a bonus disc on Crystal Ball, but it was eventually officially released. I'm including that remix album from Rave Unto the Fantastic Joy, the Rave Into the Fantastic Joy, the remix, because that was eventually released. So I think I have 13 from the 90s. How do we get to Prince from Frank Zappa? Prince was a secret word in Indie in 84 and it once or twice in 88, but he popped up as a secret word. Also, thoughts on the 90s briefly is I think this is a decade that for me personally gets better with age. Thinking of how I experienced these albums in real time, by the time I got to the end of this decade, I think I was a little like, okay, I don't need to immediately get every Prince album when it comes out. There was a couple clunkers. Only one that really, really, really grabbed me. That'll be number 1 on this list. Everything else, I either, well, there was a couple, some of the early ones, like 1 and 3. There's some good ones early, but not as great as the 80s. But over time, as Prince is no longer making albums and people are no longer making albums like Prince, though there are some artists out there that are doing some really good kind of psych funk, more sci-fi-ish funk type stuff, but there's some good funk out there. This, whatever it is Prince does, we just need more of. And I think over time, I'm not going to say, I definitely don't rank these albums higher than a lot of the 70s and 80s albums, but I think I'm listening to them more and more these days because I'm really starting to appreciate some of the stuff he was doing in the 90s and like the overwhelming like 3-hour releases. I've had way more time to absorb and appreciate. So I'm definitely coming around to these more and have a much higher opinion of them now than I probably did 10, 15 years ago. But yeah, I'm only going to do these 13, and then when I'm done with when I get caught up to all of them in the 2010s, I'll do one final list that just briefly wraps it all up. But yeah, that's all I got. Let's get on to number 13, right? There's 13. Let's get on to number 13 and 12 at the same time. Let's go. At 13, I have The Truth. At 12, I have Chaos and Disorder. And I decided to do them as one little brief snippet because I kind of feel like they're the different sides of the same coin, and it's a coin I don't listen to very often. The Truth was originally the 4th CD of Crystal Ball, and it was eventually officially released. I don't think it should have been eventually officially released. It is sort of an unplugged, acoustic, laid back, chill, almost like demo version. Nothing's as raw as like a Dylan or Neil Young demo, but there is a sort of like half-baked vibe to a lot of this, and it's definitely a whole different vibe than Prince ever goes to. And then on the opposite side of that coin is Chaos and Disorder. Feels like a Lenny Kravitz rock album, and we're gonna play rock. We'll throw some funk in. We'll flex our guitar muscles. The songwriting is at times quite cheesy. There's a lot of cheesy sort of rock tropes that are dropped in there. There are albums that are going to be on this list, on this video, in which Prince's guitar playing is just so ridiculous, far better than anything on here, that I'm like, I'm not really sure what this serves at, what urge this satisfies. Neither one of the albums are albums I listen to all that often. The Truth, I think, has two pretty interesting songs kind of buried directly in the middle, Man in a Uniform and Animal Kingdom. They both, maybe a little more production. I think one of them has some really good Man in a Kingdom. Uniform has some cool keyboard action kind of going. They both have a weird kind of more psychier vibe. They're like a breath of fresh air, among other stuff that I just don't think feels that inspired. And that's 13, The Truth. And then at 12, Chaos and Disorder. I feel like the chaos is supposed to represent rock and roll. Like, we're coming in with this chaotic rock energy. And early on, we get a bunch of rock songs. Chaos and Disorder, I like it there. The third song is probably the highlight, Dinner with Dolores. It's one of those weird, romantic, gender-bending, weird sexuality kind of Prince ballad pop things that would have fit perfectly on Sign of the Times. Like, I think it's that strong of a song. It could have worked on that album. Fantastic. And then a couple songs later, we get the song Right the Wrong, which I think is pretty interesting, just weird and all over the place and kind of chaotic. But these aren't leading into the rock energy. The rock energy isn't working. Then we get to a song called I Rock, Therefore I Am, which is the least rock thing on here. And it's just this over-the-top, kind of dated sounding, just like funk thing that does not fit anywhere on the album. Sounds like it belongs to a completely different album. And then everything from that there on out just kind of doesn't work. You get some really bad saxophone on Into the Light. You get some more just kind of straight pop funk. It just, once you get past the rock stuff, it's just disorder. Doesn't make sense. Though you have one really good highlight in Dinner with Dolores. And the song Xana Lee starts off with some really nice, like Hendrix type wah intro, almost like a Voodoo Child type intro, before it goes into some subpar, deep cut, but not a good deep cut Stevie Ray Vaughan type blues rock funk. Yeah, Xana Lee starts strong, but then it just doesn't end up strong. Yeah, both of these albums I just don't listen to. I just don't think they're that inspired. I respect the fact that Prince is trying to do something different, but I don't think he needed to do something different. I think he was still good, especially in hindsight, at what he was doing. But that's 13, that's 12, The Truth, Chaos and Disorder. Interesting that those two things are paired up, those word, phrases, concepts. Under number 11. Number 11 is Prince's 12th Graffiti Bridge, or Music from Graffiti Bridge. Came out in 1990. This is the first one of the 90s. But it's the only other album on this list. Everything else I can say I listen to, like, and I look forward to it. This is the only one that I've just never really grabbed me. There's way too many guest singers and too many guests, and it is very much Prince and the new power generation, and the new power generation is definitely getting their chance to like represent. But that's not what I'm looking for. And so there just seems to be a lot going on, too much going on. I don't like the opening song, so that always hurts me with an album, because I don't like to skip an opening song. I feel like I gotta have the experience. Can't Stop This Feeling. I don't know, it's a dance pop that doesn't work for me. There's just a lot of like funk pop, dance pop. The energy is good, like the concept of the album and the things that are going on. I'm like, okay, I like this vibe. I just don't think the songwriting is that impressive. There are things that are at times dated. Like, one of the more interesting songs I think is Elephants and Flowers, which kind of sounds like it maybe could have been like a Around the World deep cut, but then it's just kind of has some bad production on it. You got two songs in the middle, which are pretty good. Joy and Repetition, which has this definitely more low-key ballady type vibe that absolutely works. Nice jammy energy with the guitar. The Following Love Machine has some really good sort of just straight up electric funk. There's some good stuff throughout here. Thieves in the Temple is on here, but for the most part, I think there's a lot of just like Prince being Prince in a generic way. Like, he can do this. It's not going to be bad, but it's just not that inspired. When I listen to it, I can't say I don't enjoy it, but it's not one I'm compelled to go back and listen to more often. There's a song with George Clinton, which called We Can Funk, and it should be called We Should Funk Harder, because it's just, you got George Clinton on here and you're going for like a low key, low simmer funk. No, it should be like, I should be like funked out. I should be exhausted with funk after George Clinton is working with Prince on a We Can Funk song. But I don't quite feel that way. I don't. So yeah, anyways, yeah, it's got its moments. I don't know. There's just something about this that I'm not clicking into as an album. But that's my number 11, Graffiti Bridge, music from Graffiti Bridge. Number is 10 is Come, his 15th, released in 1994. There is some absolutely fantastic stuff on this. And because it starts really strong and has an awesome, awesome middle section, like I'm able to, and it's relatively short, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it's like 48 minutes, but it doesn't even feel like 48 minutes. This is a good album. It's just there's a number of weak tracks for me that kind of lower it down a little. Opens up with like the 12-minute Come, which is just, it's like the first three songs are like, let's establish just a beat, just a rhythm, and then just do things over it. And this is like spacey and jazzy. There's some saxophone thrown in there. It's kind of low-key funk, but it's just one of those long, indulgent, let's just ride this beat for a while opening tracks, but like kind of low-key, kind of a little dark and a little more just not like party atmosphere, but like let's party atmosphere, but in a different style. Problem with the album is I think the next two songs, Space and Pheromone, kind of just ride that same template, but don't do it very well. It's just not as inspired. It's just kind of like, all right, establish a beat and do things over it. But then, middle of the album, you get this 4-song run, Loose, which is like aggressive rock with some great guitar playing, Papa, which is just this weird psych funk with some incredibly dark lyrics on it, Race, which is the best funk on this album yet, and then Dark, which is let's bring the slow jam energy, just an awesome 4-song run in the middle. Then you get Solo, which is Prince solo, like doing some like woo kind of song, singing stuff with like I think there's like strings or synth strings, kind of like a weird tort song type vibe. And then the last two songs, Let It Go and Orgasm, which is essentially what the title is. I don't think end the album particularly well. So there's 5 out of the 10 songs. Half of the songs I think are really good. And I have to not check out or get too bored on 2 and 3. They're not bad, but they're just kind of not doing too much different from 1. But I think there's some really good stuff on this album. There's a lot of before a couple tracks start, we don't have it indexed separately, but you could almost have segues where we get some like Prince sexy whispering going on, doing some things. It is a very sexual album, as the title tells you. But yeah, I don't know. If you like his sort of longer, indulgent, more steady, like just waste a lot of time with grooves and beats and funk, the opening track might be enough to draw you in. And like, if you can make it through the next 2, it gets really, really interesting in the middle of this album. So yeah, it's really good. I like this album. Yeah, I would easily put it at number 10, Come. Number 9 is Rave, Unto the Joy Fantastic. I just realized the remix album did not come out for 2 years later, so it's not on this list. So all these numbers are all going to be changed. I'm wrong. So if everything's really confused from here on out, I'll put an intro in the beginning and then change it. Anyways, yeah, Rave Unto the Joy Fantastic. This is his last album of the 90s. Came out in 1999. This is probably the one more than anything that I've grown to love a lot more in the past 2 decades. It feels like an end of the decade, end of the millennium album where there's like kind of a little bit of everything. Maybe not the hard funk that maybe you want. They're just a crazy party atmosphere funk, but you got some pop stuff. You got some like almost like Sheryl Crow country rock, and Sheryl Crow's on here, so that's why I throw her name out. But it feels like that sort of rockish Neil Young country type stuff. You got some party stuff on here. You got some slow funk. You're just kind of all over the place. And I think when I first heard this, I felt it was like a little too all over the place. But over the years, just the the eclecticness of it, the like randomness of it, the softness of some of the songs I really like. There's these short little segues that this album has. Yeah, it's just a kind of a really good listen. Probably the opening track is one of the weaker ones, but then the second track, Undisputed, has Chuck D. And as soon as Chuck D comes in and you just hear his voice, it's just like, all right, I'm in this. This is good. I will say, to give away the next list, I think the remix version of this album is better. It also has a song that is maybe the best out of all of the remix and the other ones. There's different tracks on the remix version. But I still like this version. The Greatest Romance Ever Sold, you know, you got your like steady, slow song type energy. There's another really good slow song later on down here that I really like. Yeah, Hot With You just has some really nice slow funk in it. Yeah, similar kind of drum beat thing. We're getting a little bit repetitive, but there's something about it just works. Tangerine is this sweet little short acoustic ballad. The Gwen Stefani song has this really nice sort of mid-tempo, friendly radio rock vibe with this awesome sort of guitar energy going throughout it. What else is good on here? You get some Prince rap in The Sun, the Moon, and the Stars. Get some nice pop funk energy in Every Day is a Winding Road. Every Day is a Winding Road has that nice kind of linear storytelling vibe to the song. Really good. Man o' War has a really nice slow funk. I think the remix version might even be a little bit better, but some really good stuff. Baby Knows is kind of a rock kind of country thing that I did not like at all for about a decade, but now I'm really coming around to, especially where it sits on the album after Man o' War. Yeah, I don't know. It's just all kind of good. Silly Game sounds like a straight late 70s Air Supply, Ambrosia type tender ballad, but Prince's version of that. Yeah, there's just some really good stuff on here. And it ends with Pretty Man, which is a hidden track, but I think it's a hidden track on both releases. Just a straight up good funk party atmosphere. This is an album where I think the forest is greater than the trees. I think the sum of the parts is greater than the individual parts. Like, I'm not sure there's a particular track on here that I'm like, man, that's a banger. You got to hear that, other than the one that's on the remix version that I'll get to in the next video. But I don't know. Over the years, the flow of it, the sort of the jumping from kind of not major genre hopping, but we're kind of going from place to place as we go through. I don't know. It's really, really, really grown on me. And yeah, this time when I listened to it a couple days ago, it was the first time like I knew everything that was coming next, and I feel like I pretty completely absorbed the album and I really enjoyed it. So yeah, I'm not saying this would move up the list if I did this a couple years from now. It might, considering what's next on the list. But yeah, no, really, really enjoyed this. Rave, Unto the Joy, fantastic. That is my number 8, as I'm now realizing. My number 8. Number 7 is The Vault, Old Friends for Sale. This came out in 99. It was his 22nd. This is where Prince takes a bunch of like songs that have been bootlegged throughout the years or, you know, unofficially released. And I think he re-recorded all of them, kind of put them out. A lot of disgruntledness that we didn't get the original versions weren't there. But I like this album. It's 40 minutes long. It's light. It's breezy. It's an easy listen. It's kind of jazzy. It's kind of lighthearted. There's like Billy Joel, Elton John piano vibes throughout it. Things get a little weird at times, right? Like towards the middle, we get a really nice kind of bluesy, soulful workout in Five Women. We get a completely over the top, over dramatic performance in Old Friends for Sale. Got a nice upbeat funk in Sarah. A nice slow jam to close it out in Extraordinary. It's just a really fun, easygoing listen. And I want to say the first time I heard it, it was one of those, I'm like, interesting. But then the more I hear it, the more I'm like, this is just fun. It just sounds good. It's got a good vibe. Prince sounds like he's having fun. Yeah. I'm not really sure. Again, there's a song on here that's like, you have to hear this song. But I think the entire experience is kind of like the experience of like the one Rave Unto the Joy, fantastic. The overall vibe is consistent throughout. Like we're doing a lot of things, but it just feels like it's Prince of a time and it feels good. It's good listens. Yeah, I really like this album. It makes me feel good. The Vault, Old Friends for Sale. That's my number 7. Number 6 is the Black Album. This is his 16th album. Came out in 94. Got released on bootlegs back in like 87. But it was officially released in 94. And this was supposedly like, I don't even know what. I remember back in the day reading about this, hearing about this. It was just like risque and over the top and sexual and all that kind of stuff. By the time it got released, it wasn't really any of those things, but there is a really, really good time to have on this album. The problem with it is the opening 2 songs are a great time. The closing 3 songs are a great time, but there's a middle 3 that kind of don't even feel like they belong to the same album, and one of them might be the worst thing Prince has ever done. It's pretty bad. But you open up with Le Grind and Cindy C. They're just like funk parties. Feels like I'm walking into like a party that I was like maybe unofficially invited to. And so I'm like, I know I'm welcome, but I don't really feel welcome. And I feel stuff's going to go down that I'm like I'm a pretty open-minded person, but I'm like, well, I wasn't invited, so I just don't want to even watch, like that kind of stuff. It just feels really, really good. It's exactly what you think what I always envisioned the Black Album would be. I thought it would just be an over-the-top party, or it would be something a lot darker and a lot more subversive. Over-the-top party, I'll take it. Le Grind, Cindy C, absolutely fantastic. Prince is like being sexual in the best musical way possible. But then we get Dead on It, which is really bad, dated rap with a horrible attitude that seems to be dissing rappers and hip-hop stars. I don't know what's happening there. Has not aged well. When Two Are in Love, I want to like. I love the little, when two are in love. I love that actual way he sings that. The rest of the song is just kind of, not one of his best ballads, not committing. And then Bob George, drums don't work for me. It's kind of weird. Kind of has a Ween Scotch Guard, I'm in the mood kind of vibe. But it's not Ween, and it's not I'm in the mood, and it's I'm in the mood. Is that what it is? Yeah. And it's not, I doubt he's on Scotch Guard. I doubt he's been huffing it. So it's flirting with that kind of weirdness, but it's not committing to it. And since we've already established this party vibe earlier, I'm like, it doesn't work on this album. There's a different version of the Black Album where Bob George works perfectly. This is not it. But then, after that, we get Super Funky Califragisexy, and the party is back on. Then we get Two Ends United for Wisconsin, and the party's long even more. That's a jam session. People are soloing. People are going at it. Jam bands should listen to that. Maybe not many of them. Maybe change the words. Jam bands should listen to that. And then we get Rock Hard in a Funky Place to close out. And yeah, that's good. You got horns. It just feels nice and saucy, and everybody's having a good time. Prince is dropping the falsettos. Yeah. Tracks 1 and 2, tracks 6 through 8. It's the party you always wanted to be invited to, but you never were. I don't know what's going on with those middle 3 tracks. That's why it's at number 6, the Black Album. Number 5 is Emancipation, his 1996 19th album, in which he is finally free. He is emancipated from Warner Brothers contract. And so this is an indulgent celebration of his freedom. 3 discs. Each disc has 12 songs, and each disc is exactly an hour long. Exactly. And it's an indulgent Prince party. It's not perfect. There are songs that don't work, but there are songs that absolutely do work. The vibe is incredible. Disc 1 and 2 are probably a little more balanced and a little more what you expect from 90s Prince. Some like party funk, some funk rock, some slow jams, all that kind of stuff. He got some covers thrown in here. He does a cover of Joan Osborne's One of Us. I don't think Osborne wrote it. The guy from the Hooters wrote it. What If God Was One of Us? I like Joan Osborne's version better, even though Prince does change the lyrics, interestingly enough. But to me, the best part about this album is disc 2, which is not exclusively slow jam material. We got one song drop in the middle, Joint to Joint, which kind of bumps the energy up a little, but not too much. But disc 2 almost have just like this awesome, really good vibe, kind of a slow funk, slow jam feel from start to finish. Sex in the Summer is kind of an okay upbeat number, but then we immediately just kind of slow it down. We don't ever get really too crazy on this whole thing. And it just all works. It flows once the vibe is established. Anytime it's like upped a little bit, it feels like, oh no. Let's just let this simmer like this. We're in a good place right here. And I don't know. It really works. Not everything works on this album. I mean, it is 3 hours of Prince music, and unlike an album that's further up on this list, which is also like 3 hours of Prince music, maybe I don't think it's as long. Um, um, the one that's further on this list was taken from the 80s and the 90s, so it works a little better. The fact that it's all recorded pretty much in like, this 2 year period in his life when he's dealing with the same stuff, it does lend a sort of like you're mining the same territory over and over again. But I don't know, man. It's really good. It gets better every time I listen to it. There's a lot to absorb, but every time I go back to absorb it, I enjoy it that much more. Yeah, really good. But disc two, man, I think it's the best mellow, slow jam, just kind of vibe out single disc of Prince material that he's done. And to me, that makes this much higher on this list because it's really, really good. But yeah, that would be my number 5, Emancipation. Number 4 is The Gold Experience. This came out in 1990 number. 1995. This was his 17th. I like this album. Starts off with P Control. Pussy Control! One of the greatest jams Prince has ever dropped. Absolutely awesome opener. Really strong opening to this entire album. P Control, Endomorphin Machine, Shh, and We March. Just awesome starters. Then after that, you drop into the most beautiful girl in the world. You get your balladry, you get your soft Prince, you get your awesome R&B action. You got a whole bunch of like talking in this where you have this like sort of female voice that welcomes you to the electric experience, the gold experience, all these different kinds of experiences. If you make it through the album, at the end, they officially induct you into the new power generation, which is quite an honor if you make it to the end. It's a really good album that starts really strong, ends really strong, but kind of has a middle. The middle just kind of gets maybe a little more treading water, generic pink, generic Prince, generic pink. What is it? It clocks in at 65. You drop this to a 50-minute album or 45, and this thing maybe jumps up a couple of notches on this list. There's some really good upbeat synth funk towards the end. Billy Jack Bitch is a pretty good song. I Hate You is a nice slow jam. A lot of really good guitar playing on there. I Hate You is a nice guitar solo at the end. Early on has a really good guitar energy. We get a little funk. We get like a housequake type jam in Now, and that's when I think it just we're kind of treading the water a little bit. But then by the time we get to the end, Gold is just kind of a nice, upbeat, positive feeling, really good song to end the thing on. And then if you make it through, you're an official member of the MPG, which is quite an honor. So yeah, it's a good listen. Could be shorter. I think it does kind of maybe lose direction or just maybe gets padded a little too much in the middle. But and it's interesting because you have one MPG operator for the first 5 songs, and then you have the MPG operator comes back, the new power generation operator. Then you have Most Beautiful Girl in the World. Then you have every other song, the operator comes back, and that's when it starts to drag. And maybe Prince knew that, was trying to inject a little something in there, because then you get the end of then you kind of drop it for like, you get 5 songs at the end with it only one. So anyways, I don't know, I'm just noticing that. But anyways, yeah. Strong album. I like it. It's good. It's just got a little weak middle. That's all. But that opening track, P Control, if you have not heard P Control, you need to check out P Control. It'll keep you going for at least half of this album. Awesome song. That's my number 4, right? My number 4? A lot of people driving down my street today. My number 4, The Gold Experience. Number 3 is Diamonds and Pearls. His 13th came out in 91. This is a pretty fantastic album. This is Prince at his sort of poppier, feels lighthearted, even though some pretty heavy hitters on here. It's just got a good, It's got a really good, eclectic, but in the best way possible vibe. There's quite a healthy, productive sheen on this. It's a glossy album. It shines like diamonds and pearls, but there's just so many fun songs on this album. I think Thunder is just an awesome over the top opener. Daddy Pop, the awesome Diamonds and Pearls is such a fantastic ballad. Cream, kind of channeling a little like heavy T-Rex, Bang a Gone type action. Strolling, I could do without, kind of a just like a jazz strolling, just kind of a lighthearted, jazzy kind of a throwaway number. Get Off, maybe worth the price of the CD alone. 23 positions in a one-night stand. Absolutely amazing. We get some crazy little theatrics going on here. We get Walk Don't Walk. We get Jughead, which is a jam to the Jughead. Over the top ridiculousness, which I absolutely love. We get Money Don't Matter Tonight, which has some, I think that's the one with the little gun action. There's some arguing with a producer over money issues on this, and things get a little rough for a while. But absolutely, Money Don't Matter Tonight, absolutely awesome pop song. Push, Insatiable, Live for Love, just a really solid, fun, kind of a little bit of everything. Prince doing everything that he does best album. Yeah, I really like this album. And if not for Get Off alone, if you haven't heard Get Off, you need to listen to this just to experience Get Off. But yeah, it's a good album. I really like this. That's my number 3, Diamonds and Pearls. Number 2 is Love Symbol, the unpronounceable symbol that's on the cover of that album you just saw. This was his 14th, came out in 92. This is another one that is like too long. It's like almost the full CD. I think it's like way over 70 minutes. This is another one that, despite the fact that it's really strong, there's a maybe little middle section. You could have plucked a couple things out and it maybe would have been a little bit better. But yeah, it's still really good. So what do we got in here? It opens up with My Name is Prince. I mean, the opening 2 tracks of My Name is Prince and Sexy MF are just home runs. Back-to-back homers to lead off this game. Just awesome. And then from there, you kind of get a little bit of everything. You get lots of horns, you get some guitar energy, you get some funk jams, you get your R&B stuff, you get this weird little thing in Soul 7 and you watch them fall. Has this weird little like Indian, like Southwest Asian Indian or South Asian Indian type vibe. An Asian Indian type vibe, not a Native American vibe. The awesome 3 Chains of Gold, which almost feels like a little mini Bohemian Rhapsody buried at the end of this thing. The awesome Sacrifice of Victor, if you just want to like party with the MPG to close this thing out. Yeah, it's just got a lot of really, really good stuff. You got Arrogance, which is like a little like minute and a half, like just really straight, like let's punk rock almost. Yeah, maybe funk rock. It's really frenetic. I wouldn't call it punk. And that goes right into the flow, which has some really nice energy. Yeah, awesome horns. This thing is just a joy to listen to. It sounds great. It's got a little bit of everything. It's got a nice flow. Starts really strong. Finishes really strong. Yeah, maybe it tips in the middle, but most of these 75-minute albums seem to do that. But yeah, really, really good. Really, really good. That's my number 2. The Love Symbol. Circle, unpronounceable. It is unpronounceable. And my number 1 favorite from the 90s is not an official studio release, but I couldn't leave it off it because I absolutely love it. It's Crystal Ball. It did include The Truth at one point, which was his 20th studio album, I think. But this came out in 1998. It's a bunch of stuff that had been previously recorded in 85, 86, 93, 94, 95, 96, and I think there's one 83 track. It's very eclectic. It's very all over the place. It has a Bob Dylan biograph feel or like bootleg series 1 through 3, but not that because everything here is mixed up time-wise. You got an 85, then an 83, then an 86, then a 93. Like you're all over the place. That is what makes this so refreshing. It's like Emancipation is like a 3-hour, Prince experience, but it was all recorded at one period of time. So you don't get quite the range of like variety and experiences because it's Prince from one time period. This is Prince from the 80s and Prince from the 90s. Each disc, there's 3 discs. Each disc feels like a complete album. The first disc opens up with this 10-minute title track, Crystal Ball, which is just like this slowly building single drum beat that we just layer cool funk ideas on. Then it's going to get really weird at some point. Then it's going to get even weirder. Then it's going to go back to that beat, but we're going to keep that weird. Like, it's just all over the place. And then the next song we go right into is straight up dance, funk, pop. Let's have a good time. Just a lot of fun. Then the next song is heavy, like Get Off. And we go back into like a heavy sort of heavy rap groove. It's all over the place. Some of these songs have been bootlegged to death. People know them. People love them. Who cares? All of them here on this are fantastic. Yeah, first disc is fantastic. The second disc also has this really long, each of the 3 discs has like a really long track. Disc 1, it opens it up, sets the tone. Disc 2, it's towards the end. It's the earliest thing on here. This thing, Chlorine Bacon Skin from 83. Prince has this weird Chlorine Bacon Skin voice. He's like dissing his former wife or his ex-wife the entire time. It's a lot of talking. There's a lot of just like, it's so incredibly indulgent. It kind of feels like a Ween type indulgent thing. And it goes on for 15 minutes. But I don't know, man, it works. Maybe wouldn't have worked if it led off this side, this disc, but it works perfectly right where it is. And everything that precedes it and follows it just kind of leads it right into this thing where we can enjoy it and then go off and do other things. Disc 3 opens up with Days of Wild, a live track from 95. That's just a straight up party. That's just a straight up good time. Sounds like, I think it has before it has a Welcome to the Wild experience, or has like a MPG operator from the Love Experience on there. This has Poom Poom, give me my Poom Poom. She Gave Her Angels, which is an awesome song. It's got a different version of P Control on here, which is fantastic. The closing Goodbye is just an absolutely awesome slow jam to take us home. Each song is 10 CD, each CD is 10 songs only. I don't think they're all the same length, but they're all 10 songs. Not the songs, but the sides. And they're all just really good listens. Not everything's a winner, but you don't go more than 2 songs without something that you're like, man, that's good. Or man, that's so completely different. Like, it's the most awesome grab bag of Prince songs. It's not an album in the sense that it was intended to be this as much as, but whoever compiled it, whoever put the sequencing together, whoever decided these were the songs in this order, like, kudos. You did a fantastic, fantastic job. Absolutely love this. Been listening to this. This was the one, Crystal Ball immediately won me over. The opening track, the title track, the first thing on here is so fantastic. But yeah, it's a really, really, really good album. If you haven't checked this out, you need to check out some Crystal Ball, man. Yeah, that's my number 1 of the 90s, Crystal Ball. That's the ranking right there. That's where I would put Prince's 90s albums. All 12 of them. I was wrong earlier. It's not 13. I took that one off the list. But yeah, that's what it looks like. I would say the top 5, I think, are the strongest. I mean, obviously, but I think they're consistent in a way that the Black Album starts to have issues. The Vault is really strong and really consistent. It's just not aiming to be that high. Rave on 2 also just not aiming to be that high. Yeah, I don't know. I already said all my stuff. I don't know why I'm repeating it. But yeah, that's what my list looks like right there. All right. Let me know what your list looks like. Let me know what you think is the best. Let me know why I'm crazy or why I'm not. Yeah, and if you check any of these things out because of this and you like it or you hate it, let me know either way. It's interesting, right? All right, that's all I got. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, share, comment, all that kind of stuff. And if you're a Frank Zappa fan and you didn't know, we're running March Madness. Either go vote for your favorite guitar solos or go vote in the actual competition. That's happening elsewhere on this channel. That's all I got. Thanks for watching. Peace.